Temple Mount, a symbol of God's glory for 3,000 years and remains the crossroads of the three great monotheistic religions. What is it? An archaeology site? A noble sanctuary? Or a synagogue? It's more than that. It is standing there keeping so much inside it and telling stories from Adam to Abraham to Jesus to Muhammad. It is a place of significance for three great religions. The Temple Mount is a fascinating place that has captured the imaginations of people for centuries. It is filled with history, mystery, and intrigue. Join us on an incredible journey as we explore the hidden quarters of the Temple Mount. Jewish tradition holds this faith that it is the site where God gathered the dust to create Adam and where Abraham nearly sacrificed his son Isaac to prove his faith. According to the Bible, King Solomon built the first Jewish temple on the mountaintop, and after 400 years, it was destroyed by the troops commanded by Babylonian king Nebuchadnezzar. He sent many Jews into exile. In the 1st century, King Herod refurbished a second temple which was built by the Jews who had returned after their banishment. The Roman general Titus burned the temple as revenge against the Jewish rebels. The Temple Mount is called Haram al-Sharif, the noble sanctuary among Muslims. They believe it was here that the Prophet Muhammad ascended to the divine presence on the back of a winged horse on the miraculous night journey. The event was commemorated by one of Islam's architectural triumphs, the Dome of the Rock Shrine. The Temple Mount has seen more momentous historical events than perhaps any other significant part of the world. The place was occupied or conquered by a long succession of people, including Jebusites, Israelites, Babylonians, Greeks, Persians, Romans, Byzantines, early Muslims, Crusaders, Mamluks, Ottomans, and the British. Nonetheless, archaeologists have had little opportunity to search for physical evidence to sort legend from reality. For one thing, the site remains a place of active worship, and the authority that controls the compound has forbidden it for religious reasons. But my dear friends, it is not forbidden to jump in the deep ocean of history and dig out some answers for the love of reality and myths. For the Israelis, history begins some 3,000 years ago. Many biblical scholars believe that the Temple Mount is the mountain in the region of Moriah which is mentioned in the book of Genesis. It was an irregularly shaped mound among the Judean hills. The Old Testament describes how an army led by David, the second king of ancient Israel, breached the walls of Jebus around 1000 BC. David built a palace nearby and created his capital, Jerusalem. At the top of the mountain, David constructed a sacrificial altar. According to the second book of Kings and the first book of Chronicles, David's son Solomon built the first temple on that site, which was later known as Beit Hamikdash. The Temple Mount was like a Parthenon for the Jews, but still, the world knows nothing about the first temple. The pictures are made from the descriptions in the Bible and the architectural remains of other sanctuaries during the same era. It is envisioned as a complex of richly painted and gilded courts constructed with cedar, fir, and sandalwood. The rooms would have been built around an inner sacred place, the Holy of Holies, where the Ark of the Covenant was stored. It was an acacia wood chest covered with gold and containing the original 10 Commandments. Let me share a very interesting piece of information here. Although we don't know much about the first temple, during the Temple Mount sifting project, a lump of black clay was found with a seal impression. A name was inscribed on the seal in ancient Hebrew, which means son of Immer. In the book of Jeremiah, the son of Immer is identified as the chief administrator of the first temple. In 586 BC, the Babylonian army destroyed the first temple and banished the Jews. The Ark of the Covenant disappeared. This incident strengthened Judaic religious beliefs and awakened the hope for the re-establishment of the independent Jewish state. Cyrus II, the founder of the Achaemenid dynasty of Persia and conqueror of Babylonia, issued an order allowing exiled Jews to return to Jerusalem and rebuild the temple. Work was completed in 515 BC. There is no known detailed plan of the Second Temple. It was constructed as a modest version of the original building. It was surrounded by 2 courtyards with chambers, gates, and a public square. During the Persian and Hellenistic periods, the temple generally was respected. Antiochus IV Epiphanes desecrated the temple in 167 BC by commanding that sacrifices be made to Zeus on an altar built for him. This act started the Hasmonean Revolt, also known as the Maccabean Revolt. During this, Judas Maccabeus cleansed and rededicated the temple. The event is celebrated in the annual festival of Hanukkah. During the Roman conquest, Pompey entered the Holy of Holies but left the temple intact. However, Crassus plundered the temple treasury. The rebuilding of the Second Temple began with Herod the Great, king of Judea. The area of the Temple Mount was doubled and surrounded by a wall with gates. The temple was raised, enlarged, and faced with white stone. The new temple square served as a gathering place. The temple proper began on the east with the court of women, each side of which had a gate and each corner of which had a chamber. This court was named for a surrounding balcony on which women observed the annual celebration of Sukkot. The western gate of the court led to the court of the Israelites, that portion of the court of priests open to all male Jews. Surrounding the inner sanctuary, the court of priests contained the sacrificial altar and a copper laver for priestly ablutions. The court was surrounded by a wall broken with gates and chambers. The temple sanctuary building was wider in front than in the rear. Its eastern facade had 2 pillars on either side of the gate to the entrance hall. Within the hall, a great gate led to the sanctuary, at the western end of which was the Holy of Holies. The Herodian temple was again the center of Israelite life. It was not only the focus of religious rituals, but also the repository of the Holy Scriptures and other national literature, and the meeting place of the Sanhedrin, the highest court of Jewish law during the Roman period. The rebellion against Rome focused on the temple and effectively ended with the temple's destruction. When the Romans destroyed Herod's temple, they knocked the retaining wall down piece by piece, but the stones from the top tumbled down and formed a protective barrier that preserved the wall's lower portions. Today, hundreds of Orthodox Jews are gathered in devotion before the remnant of that wall, a ritual that perhaps first occurred in the 4th century AD and has been practiced continually since the early 16th century, after the Ottoman conquest of Jerusalem. All that remained of the Second Temple was a portion of the Western Wall which continues to be the focus of Jewish aspirations and pilgrimage. It was made part of the wall surrounding the Muslim Dome of the Rock and Al-Aqsa Mosque in AD 691, and it returned to Jewish control in 1967. From a historical point of view, I can tell you that the Jews did not rebuild the temple after it was destroyed by the Romans because every attempt to revolt against the Romans failed. An estimated 500,000 Jewish citizens were murdered during this time, and you have to understand that the Jewish population back then is not what it is now. So that large population decrease was critical, and it became apparent that the only way for the Jewish people to survive was through dispersal. My dear friends, I know that your minds are filled with questions at this stage, and the most important one is, what if a third temple is built for Jews? If we consider that there are no religious or political conflicts, it would be an amazing symbol of unity. It would be incredible to have one place of worship for all Jews, one center of culture. It would be fantastic to resurrect an ancient symbol of one of the most glorious periods, the Hasmonean Empire. It would fulfill the same duties as the Vatican for Catholics, a center of Jewish culture. But in a perfect world, perhaps Muslims and Jews could figure out a way to share the Temple Mount with room for both the 1,300-year-old Dome of the Rock and also a rebuilt Third Temple. I'm not aware of any prominent Jewish group that seriously wants to build the Third Temple. Judaism has evolved since the Second Temple has been destroyed, and the evolutions have stuck. Judaism has now existed without a temple for longer than the temple existed. Judaism no longer needs a temple, nor is eager to resume doing the things that were done when the temple stood: animal sacrifices, a hereditary priesthood. Some customs have changed or been lost in the past 2,000 years. For example, once the name of God was pronounced once a year by the high priest on Yom Kippur. He would enter the Holy of Holies chamber, get down on his knees, and address God by name as he begged forgiveness for the entire Jewish people. When the temple was destroyed, that information was lost. Currently, Muslims pray up on the Temple Mount and Jews pray down below at the Western Wall. That's probably as reasonable a status quo as we could hope for.